Good morning, everyone. This is Erica with Aurora Heart Healing, and today I want to talk about belonging. I have been reading, my sessions have been very intense lately. A lot of energy has been shifting, a lot of really global changes. Earth is talking to us. She is telling us what it is that she wants. And for those of us that are open enough to listen, we can tell that there are major shifts and changes that are happening at this time. And I listened to a really beautiful something or other on TikTok, and it talked about how authenticity is actually a higher vibration than love. And authenticity is self-love for the simplest way to say what authenticity is showing up as who you are with the pain, the hurt, the sorrow, whatever it is, with the joy at any given moment. And knowing that however you show up, you still belong. And that's such a beautiful message. And today, so over this last week, I've had a few sessions that actually had to do with belonging, which I thought was super interesting given all of the different synchronicities that had been going on that I saw and heard and was guided to hear. And two of my clients this week actually had the same similar themes of belonging, how to belong. So this is Brene Brown, and I'm going to read these to you from Atlas of the Heart. I I know a lot of my um, videos have her um, on them, but it's just she's so great at capturing what emotions are, why they are so important for not only ourselves, but our connection. Another message that I received over the weekend was we build in relationships. I went to church and it was a new church that I've never been to before, but I just really needed community and guidance. And one of the things that they talked about was reaching out to people, not allowing them to be isolated. And when I heard that message, I reached out to a couple of people and I just checked in because I knew that they were going through some things and I just checked in. Some responded, some didn't, some were very nonchalant. The response doesn't really matter. It was, I know in myself that I want to give people the sense that no matter how they feel, they belong because we all belong here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't belong. So I'm going to read this part. My feelings of belonging are still something that I have to work on. They can still show up in weird ways when I'm not expecting it. What's so powerful and hard is that the more my siblings and I talk about our shared experiences, the more I think everyone in my family felt the same way. A little on the outside of the myth of what we're supposed to be. I have a lot of empathy and compassion for my parents. They came from hard scramble, working class families where addiction and mental health issues were rarely addressed, and there wasn't enough money to cover them up with shiny things. I can only imagine the pictures of suburban perfection that drove their pain as first generation professionals and their fury. I just purchased a card game called How Far Will You Go? And it is a a card game that you talk about some really tough topics. And last night was the first night that me and my children played at the dinner table. After we had dinner, after we had a little treat too for dessert, we sat down and we played this game and we shared intimate details about how we felt and how we feel about certain situations in a really beautiful setting, because all of it is just it's a fun board game. And the differences between fitting in and belonging. This leads me to here. Belonging is somewhere where you want to be and they want you. When we feel wanted, it's us. When we feel like we belong somewhere, it's a sense of home. It's a sense of being there and being excited to be there. Fitting in is being somewhere where you want to be, but they don't care one way or another. How many of you belong somewhere? And how many of you just try to fit in? Belonging is being accepted for you. Fitting in is being accepted for being like everyone else. If I get to be me, I belong. If I have to be like you, I fit in. This one is kind of sad. Not belonging at school is really hard, but it's nothing compared to what it feels like when you don't belong at home. I can only imagine how painful that could be. Well, I don't have to imagine. I lived that for most of my life. And I fit in places. I would change and mold myself to fit into different places. And even now, sometimes I find myself having that struggle of wanting to fit in. But there's this immediate sense now when I go places and like, I know I don't belong in a bar. It's just not who I am. I don't belong hanging out at casinos. It's not who authentically I am. I don't belong there. Where I do belong is I belong alongside my family. I belong in spiritual communities, regardless of the differences. I belong with people that want better for themselves and that have greater thoughts for what it is that they think about life, and they want to challenge themselves. I belong there because that's who I want to be. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people to know where they belong because they don't really know who they want to be yet. Ask yourself, what is it that I want to be? Not what everyone else wants me to be, who I am providing for or trying to take care of, or how are you fitting yourself into a box? Maybe your friends all drink and you don't want to drink, but you do it because you're trying to fit in. I know that for me, transitioning from smoking marijuana to not smoking marijuana was a really tough transition because I fundamentally still wanted to participate and be there. But once that subtle shift happened where I am a completely sober person, aside from a couple of glasses here and there of wine, glasses of wine here and there, I'm sober. And that can be very hard because sometimes people think, well, you're not drinking, so we don't want you around. When I used to go to bars and I used to go to clubs and dance, people would come up to me. I would get people asking me, can I buy you a drink or whatever the case may be? And I would say, oh, a Shirley Temple or something, or I don't drink. And I would get the strangest answers of, well, then why are you here? Or then how are you having fun? Or what do you mean you don't drink? You're at a bar. And that was really fun for me because I'd get to say, I don't need to drink to have fun, or I'm here to dance. Why not? Shake it out, guys. Shake it out. But when we don't belong in places, if you don't feel like you belonged at home, then maybe it's really hard for you to feel like you belong anywhere. But how can you yourself within you feel like I belong? I belong with me. I am going to belong with who I am. I choose to belong in myself. And the more that you might find that self that you belong with, the more that you might just feel comfortable in different places that you didn't even think that you would. The next one is not living up to your parents' expectations. So the differences between fitting in and belonging. If at home, again, you never felt like you belonged, then you grew up into this world feeling like you don't belong, like you're not part of something bigger, like the big picture parts, the I am part of this huge community that loves and cares for me, and I belong no matter who I show up as. I can be a jerk and I still am loved and cared for. Belonging is not being cool or popular as your parents want you to be. Fitting in. I did so many dumb things as a kid trying to fit in. I drank, I smoked, I was mean, I was a bully, I fought. I did all of these different things because I wanted to be popular or cool. And I still didn't feel like I belonged. The days that I started to feel like I belonged somewhere was when I started to pour into myself love and understanding and grace and compassion and care for who I am and what it is that I want to show up as. This weekend, I was having a really tough time, and I I did a limbic reset. I did a session on myself, and I just kept crying. So I took myself out on a hike somewhere that is very near and dear to my heart because I lost someone there, and I hadn't been there since. I couldn't face that space, knowing that this person had passed there. So when I went up, the hike ended up being 3.5 hours. I kind of got lost and I didn't bring my phone and I ran out of water. So it was kind of scary too. But as I was going through, I kept asking myself different questions because I was in solitude. And I remember there was a time where there was no way that I could be in that type of solitude and be comfortable with feeling what I felt, recognizing all of the emotions that came up. And belonging really makes you feel like no matter where you are, you're comfortable because you belong to yourself. You are showing up as your authentic self. No matter what anyone else says, no matter what anyone else thinks, you are unashamed because it's you, because you love and accept yourself. You can feel anger and say, oh, I'm feeling angry right now. Okay, well, you feel angry right now. That's normal. Or I'm just having a really tough time. Can I talk to you? Yeah, you can talk to me. But shame, a lot of the times, makes us feel like we don't belong anywhere. Guilt, embarrassment, all of these different feelings are feelings, but the way that we react to our feelings is what dictates how we experience life. And if we experience life from, I'm ashamed, so I don't want to talk, it brings me back to the sermon that I heard at church this weekend on Sunday. It's when someone isolates themselves and pulls themselves out of situations that are uncomfortable instead of facing them and staying with community, then they're in big trouble. Because now they no longer belong. Now they have severed their ties. They have continuously pushed themselves away. And now they're just trying to fit in and they've lost their belonging. Belonging is being accepted for you. Fitting in is being accepted for being like everyone else. I don't know why I wanted to read that one again. Um, when your parents don't pay attention to your life is another one. And one of the deepest things that I've noticed in life is that we can say, hey, how are you? Okay, I love you. Or we can say, how's it going? Fine. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Have a good day. Where's the substance? Because if we were to ask deeper questions, maybe, just maybe, more people would feel like they belong more. Maybe if we were to be a little more vulnerable and open, then more people would feel like they belong too, because others would see, I had a crappy day. I lost a friend. In my case, I lost a marriage. And I'm here for you. I felt ashamed. I felt sad. I felt hurt. I felt betrayed. Do you ever feel that way too? You'd be surprised at how many people say yes. I felt confused. Have you ever felt confused in your life? If you have, welcome to the train because here you belong. I love you all. We're all just humans trying to figure out where we belong. And I hope that today you understand and you know that you do belong. And the more that you accept who you are in your heart, in your soul, in the way that you view the world, you will belong because you do. You belong somewhere. You belong here. Have a wonderful day.